Are you suicidal, depressed, anxious, stressed? This message is for you. Let me start by telling you, it just doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The reason that it doesn't matter is because what we think matters is the purpose that everybody else has for our lives. Long before we were born, people already had a purpose for your life. They already had a purpose for my life. If you wonder why so many people go through life looking for purpose, it's because we've never been given the tools. There's government has purpose for our life. Business has purpose for our life. Religion has purpose for our life. And what about ourselves? Where do we fit in? How do we find our purpose for our life? That's not part of the way that our society is designed. And to give you an example, think about the kids with ADHD. So here you've got a kid that's using the natural thought process exactly the way that it was intended to be. Now, you may not have heard of the natural thought process because most of the planet hasn't actually heard of it this way. Because what happens is that governments, education systems need people to behave a certain way. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying go against that. What I'm saying is be aware of this. What happens is, so here's what they need from you. What they need from us is in the natural thought process, there's 5 steps. First step is we observe things. So we make an observation, we see something. Think about a little kid, 5, 10 years old, and he observes something, she observes something. And the next thing that happens is we become inspired. So we feel some level of inspiration. There's going to be mildly inspired, wildly inspired. And what happens next? So that inspiration becomes a heartfelt idea. And that heartfelt idea, what does that do? It causes the universe to deliver an action thought to us. We get an idea. Now, the next step is, think about again, the 5 or 10-year-old kid. What they do is they just jump into action. And what does our government, our education system tell the kid to do? It says, stop. Wait a minute. We're going to medicate you because you're not being as quiet as the rest of these kids who have already been trained into the system to stop using the natural thought process the way it was intended to be used. They don't use those words. They just say, you have to be like them. Now, if you take somebody like Jeff Bezos on the other end of that scale, using the natural thought process, what happens is he's observed something, he's got inspired, heartfelt ideas, he gets action thoughts, takes action, and he's a genius. So in the same system, we can see what works when the natural thought process works properly, and we can see what happens the way our society is structured to prevent everybody from doing exactly what their spirit guides them to do. And you're wondering why life is so shitty, why life is so difficult, why life is so horrible. And it's because you haven't been aware of the control that you have over your life. You're not looking for somebody to come and rescue you. You're in a very indirect sense, you are, and you've accomplished that. But in a direct sense, you are fully in control of your own life and your spirit. Now, let's go through this step by step so that this makes complete sense for you. Let's start with how you got here right now, hearing this message. Okay, so you had an observation that life is absolute garbage. It's just horrible and you're done with it. So you've made an observation, and then you got an inspiration that said, is there nothing left? Is there nothing good? And that inspiration led you to hearing this message. And that message now gives you a new observation, and that new observation leads to a new inspiration. Because if you actually have control over the outcome of your life, if you're not looking for somebody else to rescue you, it's a whole different picture than what you had a few minutes ago. So now it still feels lousy, it still feels, because you've got a history, as many people do, of anxiety and depression and stress and nothing good. So why all of a sudden would you want to believe this? Because you know in your heart, in your spirit, that this is true. Your spirit resonates with this. Your spirit knows, it says, okay, I observe something and it either makes me inspired to kill myself, so I've observed something that's really negative, or I've observed something that's, okay, this might be interesting. And when you take, it's your choice when you take a negative inspiration or you take a positive inspiration. But let's say that you decide, okay, let's give this a chance. Let's take a look. What does this guy actually have to say about this? Does this actually work? Do I actually have control of my own life? Okay. And that's a great starting point, because you don't need me to tell you that what you can and can't do. You have the full power to do that. Your spirit knows that. So when you observe something and now you're feeling inspired, mildly inspired, and now you say, okay, well, what happens now? So I see something that's inspiring me, and I'm not going to give you an example. You'll come up with your own examples, because you're going to, whatever you're seeing that's inspiring you, you'll feel. Learn to feel the inspiration. Now, it might only be very mild at the beginning, but what happens is that just the point of being inspired to be inspired is already the start. You've lit the fire. The moment that you feel inspired to be inspired, there's no turning back from that, because now your spirit has found a new purpose. Your spirit, which was going down a path of wanting to end it all, was observing so many negative things that the universe is delivering exactly what you want. And if you're going down a path that says, here, there's nothing left for me, the universe will deliver you the ideas. That's why people stand on the edge of a bridge. That's why people take a knife. That's why people take a bottle of pills, is because they've become negatively inspired by the action thought that was delivered to them by the universe, that's always on your side. No matter what you want to do with your life, the universe will deliver exactly what you need. So if you can take the negative inspiration and put that aside for a moment, and look at the positive inspiration, look at the inspiration that says, okay, so if I want to live a happy life like everybody else does, or like other people do, then what do I do? And it starts by observing something that is positively inspiring for you. And how do you do that? Well, the same way that you got here, you had the inspiration to be inspired, and that led you to a new action, and you took the action, because if you didn't take the action, you wouldn't be sitting here watching this. And so now through that, now you have new observation. It's a lot like when I go in the mountains, and I go for a hike, and there's trails and there's paths. And when I'm at the bottom of the mountain, I don't see a lot of what I'm going to see. But every step that I take forward allows me to see something new. There's a turn in the road, there's a rise in the elevation. I see something different. And the same in your life right now. Every step that you take forward allows you to see something new, something different. Or every step that you take back, it allows you to see something new, something different. If you're willing to look at old things in new ways and look at new things, the more that you're observing, the more inspiration you're going to find. And don't worry that you're not inspired, or it just doesn't feel like you're inspired. Don't worry, because just the fact that you're inspired to be inspired, like I said, is the flame is lit. Now it started. Allow yourself the time, and we'll go through this process. But this is why I'm saying things just don't matter. It just doesn't matter, because what matters, why we get this urgency about why everything matters so much, is because governments, business, religion, they all have ideas of what we need to do with our lives. And so all of a sudden we have this whole hectic around us of what matters. Well, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we hear our spirit, that we hear our gut instinct, that we're feeling our inspiration about what we want to do with our experiences today. So now we're going to go into another little segment here about experience. So each person on this planet, each 7.5 billion, 8 billion, however many we are, each have experiences every day. We have thousands of experiences every day, micro experiences, little experiences, and we have bigger experiences, macro experiences. And if we're not happy with any of those thousands of experiences, what we can do is learn to separate the experiences out. Leave them all on little islands of their own. So you have these thousands of little islands around you. And the ones that have the clouds over them, the bad experiences, the dark ones, leave those islands on their own. Now, if you choose to spend your time on those islands, that's up to you. But if you want to take that contamination from that island and bring it to all your other good islands, that's your choice too. But you could stay just on one happy little island and not do anything else with your day. And there's just one thing that makes you happy in the day, and you spend your day doing that. Who's to tell you that that's not the right thing for you to do today? Because that's a step forward from where you were yesterday. And as your spirit wants to experience new experiences all the time, we don't know what the next experiences are going to be. But we know we can pick them. We know that we can say, okay, I'd like to go in that direction. I've observed this, and I like that. I've observed that, and I don't like that. I'm going to leave that behind me. I'm looking for this type of experience, and whatever that is for you. Now you start to observe things in that direction. What's going to happen is you feel heartfelt ideas, you feel more inspired, you gain confidence. If you look at the balance that's in the universe never gives you more confidence than you have inspiration. The two are, they're extremely well balanced. There's no huge amount of inspiration and zero confidence. It doesn't work like that. There's huge inspiration, huge confidence, zero inspiration, zero confidence. And that's why, for example, people are trying to lose weight and they're only mildly inspired. And after a few days, weeks, months, they quit, they don't lose weight. It's because they didn't observe enough about losing weight that was important to them. And so they were only mildly inspired, and now they're going on to another experience. There's nothing wrong, nothing lost. It's just that that wasn't the experience that they really wanted. When you come back to that experience, for example, you say, no, I really do want to lose weight, then observe more things so that, and watch your level of inspiration. Your level of inspiration is your spiritual guide saying, okay, yeah, let's step ahead, let's do this, because this is so important to me that I'm doing this. And the same thing happens that you've gone through the experience. If you're suicidal, you've gone through the experience that it became so important that you got to that top of that staircase, you got to that bridge, you got to those pills, you got to the alcohol, you got to whatever, because you were so negatively inspired, and the universe delivers you action thoughts and you're taking actions, but it's all in the wrong direction. It's when you know that you can build the same level of inspiration about something else in life, and you can do that over and over and over. The sad part is when you look at people like Robin Williams, he was so inspired as a comedian and as an actor. But in his narrow vision, it escaped him that there was still 99% of the rest of the world that he hadn't experienced yet. And rather than turning his back to comedy and to movie making and that, rather than turning his back to that, what he did was he killed himself. But if he would consider that life has so many experiences, we'll never live all the experiences that are possible in our lifetime. So it's a matter of turning and looking a different direction. If what's making you unhappy today, well, then look at the other way. Maybe you need a complete change of scenery. You need a complete change of the people that you're with, a complete change of the place where you are, and start to experience something new. And you don't have to take any rash actions. Take today and allow yourself to feel your inspiration to be inspired. If you do nothing else than that today, then you've come a long ways. The moment that you know what it feels to be inspired, the moment that you've reignited for your spirit that you can be inspired and that you're fully in control of your inspiration, there's nothing, nobody that can prevent you or anybody from living the life that their spirit guides them to. You're not looking for permission, or if you are looking for permission to lead your life, here's the permission. Lead your life the way that you want, the way that your spirit guides you to. That's why you have your gut instinct. For all the religions in the world to tell you that only some people have the Holy Spirit, or only some people are liked by God, the reality is you know this in your spirit, that you observe something, you feel inspiration, you know how that feels in your heart, positive or negative. You know that your heartfelt ideas your heartfelt inspiration brings ideas from the universe that are 100% in alignment with what you want. You're not getting ideas about something that you don't want, or that somebody else wants. You're getting, when you're paying attention to your observations and what inspires you, then you're feeling your heart inspired ideas is what guides the universe to deliver the ideas that you need. And knowing this, you're able to observe whatever your spirit wants to observe in life, and whatever you're going to observe, you have a completely different experience than 7.5 billion other people. Nobody has your experience. Think about your experience, what inspires you. Let that inspiration grow. And as that inspiration grows, the universe delivers the ideas that you need to move it forward. You don't have to worry about whether you have confidence. You don't have to worry about whether you have inspiration. Follow the natural thought process the way I've described, and you have complete control over your life, always and forever. I can't stress enough at the very core of what got you to the point where you're just about to end it is that you didn't know that about the natural thought process. You've seen it all around you. You know that you can feel that this is right. You've seen it with kids with ADHD. You've seen it with adults. You've seen it. People know. Let's go through the other way. Maybe it'll be clearer. What happens is people stop observing things. People are being told what to do. People are being told how to live, what to live. People are being told, you should be rich, you should be this, you should be that, you should be religious, you should be, and we have our head filled with all these ideas of what we should be, from business that wants to sell us every possible thing imaginable, religion that has every idea about what it means, what you should do with your life because of what God thinks that about. There's so much about what everybody else thinks that we've totally lost touch with what we think. And so as people go through the routines, get the education, get the career, get the job, work your life away, work in paid slavery for your whole life, because that's what a respectable society does. Great, wonderful. Does your spirit agree with that? Or is your spirit coming and saying, no, I don't know what's right, but I do know that that isn't. I know that that is not for me. And that's a good starting point, because a lot of people never get to that for themselves. They end up living their lives out, being told by other people what to do, and in the illusion that they're living their own life when they're not. So you're already a huge step ahead of many people, because there's a lot of people that will never escape their stress, their anxiety, their depression. They're working for companies that, and this is a great example, is 50 years ago, 50 years ago, people started talking about equal pay for equal work. And 2 years ago, in the UK, 1,500 of the biggest companies, biggest corporations, not only weren't paying equal pay for equal work, they didn't even meet the requirement to fill out the paperwork to say whether they were or weren't, or where they're at in doing that, 50 years later. So now let's apply this to mental health and the population. So before the coronavirus started, before the world shut down, what happened was that about 25% of the workforce in North America is suffering from some type of mental health issue, stress, anxiety, depression. And the system isn't helping that. The system, the pharmaceuticals, they need for people to be on medication. The medical system is trained. The pharmacies, the pharmaceutical companies train the doctors on what medications to prescribe. They need for people to be lifelong on medication. Now, if you're on medication, I'm not the doctor. I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. There's a lot of risks by stopping your medication. So you don't do anything rash, but long-term, think about this. As you gain knowledge, as talk to the people that prescribe this, and talk about being able to get off of the medications. Because it's, in my opinion, not as a doctor, but from my experience in life, is everything starts from what we think. So where the system works from is everything is physical. There's, even though we all know that we have thoughts, and we know there's not a doctor in this world to operate on us and put a thought on the table and say, here, let's take those thoughts and let's put them over there. Can't do it. So we know that thoughts are not part of the physical realm of our life, but they are a very active, real part of our life, because otherwise we wouldn't be here doing this, having this conversation. And if we believe that all the stuff that happens in our brain happens because the chemical reactions that are happening, and now we try to medicate those chemical reactions, and we ignore that the thought created that chemical reaction in the first place, then how are we ever going to get out of this mess? How are people ever going to escape stress, anxiety, depression, if we're looking in the wrong place for the keys? So it's no great wonder that you're having a struggle, because the world, the society, the way it's structured, the way everything that people have learned, people just pass on all the bullshit that they've learned from everybody else, and that's gone on for thousands of years. Everything that business, government, religion need, that's what we think our purpose is, because it's their purpose for our lives. So let's put all that aside, and let's take a look back at what are we doing right now. First of all, we know that every day when we wake up, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what everybody thinks we should be doing. What does your spirit tell you about what inspires you? That's the starting point. When you're inspired to be inspired positively, you're already on a huge new experience in your life. And who knows what it's going to bring? It can bring a lot of positive things. It can bring a lot of negative things. And it's up to you to sort out those things. Keep the negative on their own island, keep the positive on their island, and spend your time on the islands that you feel are going to bring you the best results based on what inspires your spirit. The natural thought process is something that's fully in your control. There's no magic to it. Just recognize the 5 steps: observation, inspiration, heartfelt idea, action thoughts, and take action. And that becomes a wheel, and that wheel keeps turning. Because every new, as I said with my example of going hiking in the mountains, for example, or taking a holiday somewhere, or going, whatever you're into, you observe, you feel a bit of inspiration, you have a heartfelt idea, action thought, you observe some more. And the more you observe about what was mildly inspiring to you becomes wildly inspiring to you. And as your inspiration level rises, your confidence level rises. So there's no need to worry about whether you're shy or whether you don't have confidence. What matters is that you know that with a tiny bit of inspiration, there's a tiny bit of confidence. As you observe more, it's fully in your control. You're either going to observe things that inspire you or not. As you observe more, your confidence rises. And that keeps going. And you make your way up the mountain. And all of a sudden, there you are at this place where you're just so inspired about something in your life. And you have all the confidence in the world to accomplish that, what inspires you. It really doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It only matters what you think. Do you think for a second that Jeff Bezos cared at 1 iota what anybody else thought about what he was doing? How many people told him he was crazy? He was already a millionaire. He already was making millions of dollars. And he quit that because he was inspired to do something different. So what stops you from quitting doing what you're doing and now find the inspiration that's going to be the real joy in your life, that brings the happiness that you've been looking for? Because it's not going to come from me. It's not going to come from anybody else. It comes from within, because your spirit guides you. And that's why when you see successful people, they're led by gut instinct. It's because they've got in tune with their spirit. They may not use the words. They may not ever recognize that they even have a spirit, or that there's spirituality, or that the universe does anything, or that thought or anything plays any role in their life at all. And it doesn't matter. What matters is that they follow their spirit. And when you follow your spirit, you're going to have an awesome life. If you need more help with this, or you need the next steps to this, one of the things I offer, it's free, on my website, johnverwey.com, is the 30-point self-test. And what this is for is when you go through these 30 questions, 30 different points about life, and there's 4 multiple choice, and you pick the one that you believe to be true. And from that, so you send that back to us, and we give you a free personalized report. And in that report, it's going to give you some new observations about your life, but they're not our observations to the fullest degree. They're a reflection. It's like looking in the mirror and seeing yourself, except in a different way. So start with the 30-point self-test. Consider the results from that. And in the meantime, start to use the life tools. There's over 24 life tools. The first ones I've talked about here a little bit was, we've touched on experience, we've touched on the natural thought process, and that's only the very beginning of this. When you have all 24 life tools, you have all the power, all the ability to help anybody in any situation in life to be able to create the kind of life that they want. That's the power that life tools gives you. And it all starts by, well, you've already started the process. What you've done to get here, to hear this message, you observed in your deepest, darkest, lowest moment in your life, you observed something about what your spirit was telling you. You got an action thought, and that action thought brought you here. You've heard this message. Now you're another step up the mountain, and now you've got a new observation. From that new observation, you've got a little more. Remember, you had a little inspiration. Now you have just a little bit more inspiration. You have a little bit more confidence. You've got this. You can do this. That confidence, where did that come from? It came from the inspiration that came from your observation. It's such a simple system that it's almost criminal that this isn't taught to kids the moment that they're born and from there on, because there's nothing more important in life than knowing how you control your life. So as you're observing, as your inspiration grows, the universe brings you new action thoughts. You decide which of those action thoughts you're taking, which leads you to the next step, and it just grows. And the caution for anybody that's finding themselves depressed and suicidal is recognize that if you're following the action thoughts that lead to self-harm, that you want to go back a few steps, because you want to be observing the things that are going to bring you a positive life. And if you keep observing the things that are bringing you towards suicide, then you've picked a path that's different than the one that's possible. If you're looking to take a couple of steps back, take those steps back and find something that positively inspires you. Look around, and if the only thing that inspires you is that it's raining, or that it's cold, or that it's sunny, let whatever around you, that you're feeling something, let that inspire you. Because to know that you're inspired, to be positively inspired, is the beginning of a brand new journey. And you can allow your spirit to take that journey. Allow your physical, spiritual life to blossom. Allow yourself to be and remain in touch with your spirit for what you want, because nothing else matters what anybody else thinks. Go to johnverwood.com, do the 30-point self-test, get the free personalized report, and keep observing new things, keep observing old things in new ways, and especially keep observing your level of inspiration. Recognize your level of confidence relative to your level of inspiration, and recognize that your inspiration grows as your observation increases. The more you observe about the tiny things that inspire you, the more your inspiration grows, the more that your confidence grows, and in a matter of minutes, hours, days, your life has taken such a phenomenal turn that you'll wonder what happened, except you know what happened. You've taken back control of your life. You're not looking for anybody to rescue you. You have the power to rescue yourself. I'm always there for questions, for comments. What I do expect from people is that whatever your life is today, that knowing that life is a series of connected and related experiences, and you have thousands of experiences every day, that if you're living the same life tomorrow as you live today, and you didn't change a single experience, then if you're choosing to stay in that downward spiral, that's not my place to tell you not to do that. But I do help people that actively change their life day by day. Just change one tiny little thing. Just if you've made that change today to say, okay, nothing else really matters, but I am going to start paying attention to my experiences, and I am going to start putting the bad experiences on their own little island. And I'm not going back to those experiences. So if I don't like the way that I wake up in the morning because I'm not rested, well, I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to sleep longer. I'm going to go to bed earlier. I'm going to eat something differently. I'm going to do something different. And you make one tiny, tiny, tiny change, one of those thousands of your experiences, and you've already made all the change in your life, because that one thing is going to change. You figure that if you have 1,000, let's say your whole life is full of 1,000 just lousy, lousy, lousy experiences, and you change one of those experiences every day. In 3 years, you will be an entirely different person than you are today. So that means if you absolutely hate who you are today, and you change one tiny little experience, then tomorrow you're already a step closer to the person you want to be. And it doesn't take 3 years. What happens is that as your inspiration grows, your confidence grows, and you're not going this, you don't have to undo the past. You're going from where you are today, observing. The more you observe, you're going to go bang, bang, bang. You're going to be inspired. Because once you're onto something that inspires you, once you're onto something that really matters to you, it doesn't take long. In a matter of minutes, hours, days, weeks, it depends on how soon you're observing the things that are wildly inspiring for you. And it starts with mildly inspired, and it goes step by step. It's up to you how fast that process goes. So if you're ready to live your life, start to observe what inspires, observe your inspiration, and observe the level of confidence that comes with it. And don't be in too much of a rush to go out to do something until you've let that inspiration grow. You've probably heard it 1,000 times, but this time it's going to mean something different to you now, understanding this. Enjoy the journey. As you watch your inspiration growing, that's your journey. Watch the observations. Consider thoughtfully all the things you're seeing and how they matter and why they matter, or if they don't matter. And then as over whatever time period you decide, whatever time period your spirit guides you to, that journey, that part of the journey is going to take you to new inspirations. And those new inspirations are going to put you at the peak of your life. They're going to put you exactly where your spirit wants to be for that experience. And when you're there, and when you're tired of that experience, and you think back about people that, like Robin Williams, that didn't have these tools, and just you look around, and what's the next experience you want to have? How many people go through relation breakup and they're totally distraught? If they could stop and just take a look and say, okay, well, that experience is over. That experience is done. But that means that we're on the brink of a brand new experience. And of course it's scary. What's that going to look like? Who knows what that's going to be? But just because one experience ended doesn't mean that there's no new good experiences coming. Leave that broken relationship experience on an island by itself. Take all the good pieces from it, keep them on separate islands, and now look forward to your next new experience. If you've just lost a job, if you've just lost a career, know that, leave that on its island. Take away the good things, take away the stuff that inspires you, and know that when you start to observe, let's go through these separately. We'll go through relationships first. So your relationship's broken, and everything that was your hopes and dreams for your life is destroyed. And there you are. And now you've made the observation that that's over. What now? Well, you've got an inspiration from that observation that you want something different. You want something better. And from that inspiration, if you can focus on the positive inspiration of what the next new experience is going to be like, because you're creating it. You're deciding what that's going to be. You're looking and you're saying, oh, that's interesting, no, that's not interesting. No, I don't want to go there, and I certainly don't want to go back there. Now, natural thought process, you're observing things. And when you find things about relationships that matter to you, and your inspiration level rises to create another relationship, and your confidence level rises for that. So don't worry that you feel totally knocked down right now, because that's natural. You're at a low point. There's zero inspiration, zero confidence. Observe, let your inspiration start to grow, and then it moves forward. Inspiration, confidence, and it all comes through the observation. So now you start to get into the possibility of a new experience, and you've got all this baggage, all these bad islands. You think, well, that happened to me and that happened to me. I don't want that to happen again. We want to leave those islands. Let's turn those islands, let's go towards what we do want to happen. Because somebody that's going to get into a relationship with you, they're looking for the same thing. They're looking for what's on the new islands. There's a lot of new islands on the horizon. We don't know what's on there, but there's a lot of good stuff waiting for us. So let's just focus on the good stuff that's coming. Let's observe what we see. And if we're starting to see islands that just don't make any sense, that's got bad stuff, let's change our course a little bit. And let's go towards the islands that inspire us. So now, if you've just lost a job or career, or you've been hunting for a job or career and you're just not finding it, first of all, make sure that you're going in a direction that actually inspires you. Make sure that whatever work you're seeking, whatever job you're seeking, whatever career path you're going to follow, that it actually matters to you, that it's not that it matters to everybody else, and everybody else said, well, you should be doing this, and you should be doing that, and you should. Never mind. It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what does your spirit think. So then, how do you start? You start to observe and say, okay, well, I hate that, I hate that, I hate that. I don't like that, I'm not doing that. Okay, and you've already got a good start, because now you know what you don't want. And you can start to look at, okay, I like that. That looks interesting, or that could be interesting. And with all the resource of information we have around us, there's nothing that stops you from observing more new things until you find that your inspiration is growing. And the more you're observing, your inspiration grows. The more your inspiration grows, the more your confidence grows. And with all of that, what are the steps again to the natural thought process? Observation, inspiration, heartfelt idea, and then comes the key, the part where the universe is helping you. The universe steps in and says, here's an idea, here's something you can do. And you'll know what the next step is to move in the direction of what you're trying to accomplish. And as you make the choice, so you've got that action thought and you take action. When you take action, now that wheel is turning. It doesn't matter if this is your deepest, darkest, worst day in your life, for whatever reason it is. It's also the start of the next new experience. When you're inspired to be inspired, that flame is lit. When you know that all it takes is to observe more things, observe new things, observe old things in new ways, that leads to inspiration increasing, that leads to confidence increasing, that leads to the universe delivering action thoughts, that leads to the opportunity to take action at your choice. You take actions, put you at that next step going up your journey up the mountain or wherever you're going, gives you a new outlook, gives you new observations. But if you don't take any steps, if you don't take any action, then it's harder to find new observation because you've stalled the process. If we refuse to look at something new, if we refuse to look at old things new ways, then we're stalling the process. Then we're our own worst enemy, because nobody's going to tell us how to do and what to do, and nobody can do it for us. We have to take each step ourselves. And that's why we have our own spirit to guide us. Our spirit is inspired, we take steps. If our spirit is negatively inspired, we take steps towards suicide. And that's how it works in our life. So knowing these things, we can say, okay, so I don't like my mental state right now. maybe the best thing I can do right now is just go and get some sleep, go and get some rest. Then that's the step to take. There's often, personally, I don't live by anybody's rules except my own. I'll give you an example. Over the last few days, so we're here under isolation. We're not supposed to be any group more than 2 people. While this coronavirus works its way through the world. And so at 7 o'clock one evening, I was tired and I just was not useful to myself anymore. And so I went and laid on the couch and went to sleep for 2 hours. And I've done I've practiced now for years. I don't allow a schedule, an alarm clock to dictate my life. And so when I woke up at 9 o'clock or 9:30, and all of a sudden I had these new ideas and something I've been working on for the last 3 years, and I've built my website and I've done all these things. And it came to me that through observations that I've had, that I was going about it all wrong. And so I went from 9:30 till 6:30 in the morning, and I had 2 websites. I took the one website and I totally deleted it, and I started building a brand new website on that. And now, where did I get the ideas from for that? Well, before I fell asleep, I saw a message from somebody, from 2 different companies actually, and I recognized, so when I looked them up when I woke up, I realized they were both doing the same kind of thing in terms of marketing. And it made complete sense to me what they were doing. And this was a brand new insight for me. So through observation, for something that I was inspired about, building a better website for my business. So I was observing, saw something, I'm inspired, I've got this heartfelt idea. And so this heartfelt idea, my inspiration and my confidence grew so strong that I thought, okay, it doesn't matter what I've spent years building on that site, I can wipe it out, it does not matter. And what I did was I rebuilt the site in the way that I feel is more useful. And that took till 6:30 in the morning. And then I went to sleep and I woke up 3 hours later, something like that, fully energized, full of energy. Now, I'm typically a person that'll sleep 7, 8, 9 hours, but there was no way I could sleep another minute. I had to get out of bed because I wanted to continue on what I was doing. I'd taken the one website, built what I want, took my primary website, trashed it, wiped it out, and I duplicated, using 2 screens, I duplicated my other website. Now, none of this may matter, but for me, it's a huge thing because it's the natural thought process, using it the way it's supposed to work. But I've added in that when I'm no longer good for myself, when I'm tired and I'm not functioning well, there's zero value in me forcing it to, well, I really shouldn't go to bed. 7:30 is too early to go to bed. If I would have fallen in that trap, then I would have been exhausted. I would have slept 8, 9 hours, whatever, and I would have started the next day with the same worries. But what I did was I observed, I was inspired, I had confidence just to go to sleep is another step. But then when I woke up, the universe had delivered the action thoughts that I needed for what was troubling me. And when I took that action, which I did over the next several hours till 6:30 in the morning, then I reached a new level of inspiration and a new level of confidence. And that just keeps growing, it keeps building. So no matter what you're facing in your life, no matter where you're at, have the confidence that when your spirit says, enough's enough, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, then go to sleep. When one of my daughters was young and she died, and one of the first things we did after we spent several hours in the hospital till we figured out what to do after she died. And then we had about 2 hours before we could do anything. And what I did was I got my family to get 2 hours of sleep because there was no value in trying. There's no value in trying to move forward when we're no good to ourselves. Get the rest you need. Take the sleep. Know that you're inspired to be inspired. Know that the universe is always on your side. You know this for a fact. You can observe it. It's not that you have to believe it. The worst thing you can do is believe something that somebody else tells you without testing it for yourself. Everything I've told you, try it out for yourself. Does it actually resonate with your spirit? Is this true? Is this something that I'm making up, or does this actually work this way? When you observe something, it's either going to make you depressed or it's going to make you happy. If you choose to observe the things that make you happy, you're going to feel inspired. The inspiration leads you to feel like doing something. To feel like doing something, the universe is going to give you that something to do. And when you do that, what you think that if it sounds like the right thing to do, you're inspired, positively inspired to do it. I strongly discourage you to do anything where you're negatively inspired. I mean, suicide is the universe telling you, okay, you're thinking about all these negative things and you want to go in this direction. Well, this is how you go in that direction. But it's up to you to decide to say, okay, well, no, I don't really want to go in that direction. All I really wanted was to know, how do I pull my life together? What are the tools? What do I need so that I can live a life? All these other people are happy. Why can't I be happy? And that's what the universe did right now. It delivered, through your observation, delivered a positive way. Here's positive action steps you can take. Observe positive things, observe something that inspires you, and just follow that process through. And so the same way you got here, the same way that you're now inspired, now add to that look after your being. If you need something to drink or need something to eat, and I'm not saying I really wouldn't recommend alcohol, it's just not all that does. Consider that if alcohol is something that's a part of your life, consider how hard you worked to get to where you are. And now you're going to escape the reality that you created. What sense does it make to do everything that you do so that you can escape the reality that you're creating? So like I say, if alcohol or drugs is a part of your life, then consider that when you step back for a moment from that, you can always go back to it. When you step back for a moment, say, okay, can I be inspired without that? Was the drugs and the alcohol, was that something that was because I was afraid of the power of my own spirit, or I didn't recognize the power of my own spirit? What was the reason that I needed to escape? Why do I need the escape? I want to escape. Maybe that was what brought me to the edge of suicide. Maybe that was just coming down like the world is right now with the coronavirus. It's just coming to a stop. It's saying, not a lot of this is making sense. Let's just slow it down a moment. Let's take another look from a fresh perspective. Let's get some rest. That's what the world's saying, is get some rest, because when we wake up from this, we're going to see things in a different light. And from that position, we're going to have a new inspiration. And from a new inspiration, we're going to have a new confidence. So no matter where you are in the world today, no matter what is happening in your experience, understand that as each day unfolds, it doesn't matter. What matters is, are you happy in your experience? And if you're not happy in your experience, Recognize that there's thousands of experiences you're having every day. Change a tiny single experience that's not suiting you. Leave that bad experience on an island. Don't go back to that island. Start to fill your day with the experiences that come from your observation of the things that you do like. And then your inspiration grows. And within days, weeks, months, as this whole coronavirus thing goes by, as things return to normal, which may not be what you're after. If you start observing your experiences now, and you start to change your experiences now, then you're going to be a whole different person with a whole different outlook on how you're moving forward. So take the 30-point self-test, get the personalized report, and memorize the natural thought process. You were born with it. Refresh it. Know that when you know those 5 points, observation, inspiration, heartfelt idea, action thought, and taking action, then that wheel is turning. And it's up to you to stall it or to keep it turning. And like I said, you're not looking for somebody to rescue you. You're just looking for the tools that you can control your life. Now you have them. Get the rest you need so that you can use them well, and start creating the next part of your journey that's going to bring you the happiness that you've been looking for your life. I'm John Verway, and I'm always here for people that are looking to improve their experiences in life. Let me know how it's going for you, and never give the control of your life to anybody ever again. It's your life, and you lead it the way that you see fit.